Man, that's some good CBD. 40% CBD. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? I think it's lovely. CBD talk with the one and only Versace Vince, aka Wayne County Audit, aka Disabled Vet Source, aka Pucking Around TV, where I puck around so you can find out. How's everybody doing? Just here having us a little CBD talk break. Sponsored, of course, by our lovely friends at Smiles Dispensary in Wayne, Michigan, off of Michigan Avenue. We love our beloved friends at Smiles, formerly known as Joyology. But I didn't come here to talk about that today, guys. I came here to talk about something else. Came here to talk about liberty and property rights. I came here to talk about the 4th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 6th Amendment, the 8th Amendment, and the 1st Amendment. Right? I came here to talk about those. I feel like a preacher, right? Instead of preaching the gospel like I should be, I'm preaching the Constitution. The Constitution will set you free. And that applies to us all. If we live long enough. If we don't get murdered by the powers that be. As long as we don't get Charlie Kirked, we'll be good. But anyways, hope everybody's doing well. Checking the view out. My unmaintained yard, my disgusting yard. As you can see, look how disgusting it is. The city of Wayne has such higher standards. The city of Wayne has such high standards that my property is just simply subpar. This whole property right here is just subpar. Yep. It's not good enough for the city of Wayne. It's not good enough, guys. The city of Wayne's got higher standards than what this property can provide. Clearly, just out of control, unmaintained wasteland. No, wasteland's over there. That's wasteland. But, you know, little pile of firewood at the city or the county of Wayne County Drain Commission had put out for me. Thank you, guys. But yeah, I mean, effectively, if you do the basic math, right? See, the city of Wayne City Council can't understand void for vagueness doctrine. They can't understand the 4th or the 14th Amendment. Or the 6th Amendment, or the 5th Amendment, or the 1st Amendment, for that matter. But more importantly, the city of Wayne does not understand geometry, right? So the new open burn ordinance, right, which of course states that the fire pit has to be in the rear of the yard. So it's got to be in the rear of the yard. It's got to be at least 50 feet from a property line or a structure, 25 feet from a power or utility line, and the fire pit must be in the rear yard, right? So I'm no math genius, but I did study some statistics and geometry and statistical analysis for my graduate level training at Grand Canyon University. And well, let's just say that in order for this Ordinance 2025-02, or as I call it, the McFarland Ordinance, in order for the McFarland Ordinance to be valid, to not be void for vagueness, or just, you know, what it is a de facto ban on open burning in the city of Wayne without calling it a de facto ban. because the city of Wayne, you know, they want to be able to, for they themselves and their family and their friends, they want them to be able to enjoy the luxury of open burning, but they simply just don't want me to enjoy it. So as you can see, that entire ordinance is written for me, clearly. But I wanted to point something out. As it's written, it's very interesting. So it says that, like I said, again, it has to be 50 feet from a property line, 50 feet from a structure. Well, 50 feet from a property line means that at minimum, you have to have a property that's over 105 feet by 105 feet. You have to have 105 feet by 105 feet minimum, because the fire pit can only be, you know, the fire pit's, we're going to say 36 inches is the maximum. So we're going to say it's going to be close to that. So that means, you know, 3 feet, which means you have to have, well, I guess technically you would need 103 feet by 103 feet, but we're going to round up to 105 by 105 because, you know, you got to account for variance and whatnot. And so that's assuming you have a lot that's at least 105 feet by 105 feet, and that fire pit's dead center in the middle of that lot. Then theoretically you would be in compliance, which of course that's not the case for any lot in Wayne, because the city of Wayne is landlocked and it has less than 3 square miles, or was it less than 6? It's pretty small place. And needless to say, there are very few lots in the city of Wayne itself that are 100 feet by 100 feet, let alone 105 by 105. But then you also have to account for, you know, the house itself, right? The setback from the road is probably at minimum 50 feet. So your house setback is 50 feet. And there are no double lots in the city of Wayne. Besides mine, I have 2 1.5 acre parcels. But, you know, realistically, when you account for, you know, accessory structures, which have to be in the backyard, and the house and the setback for the house and how big the house is, effectively you would need at minimum 150 by 150 feet parcel to have any conceivable chance of being able to open burn, which of course, again, when you account for the house and you account for the setback, right, 50 feet, you know, beyond the property line where it begins, and then of course the mass of the house itself, realistically you would need at least a 150 by 2 or 250. And when you start doing the numbers, when you start looking at, well, how many parcels in the city of Wayne, residential parcels, how many of them are that big? And virtually none. There's actually only about 6 parcels in the city of Wayne out of 7,000, over 7,000 households. There's only about 6 parcels in the entire city that on paper would be able to open burn according to the geometry in which they have set forth. But when you actually look at where the houses are located, and you look at, you know, sheds and other accessory structures or accessory buildings that must be placed in the backyard, well, that's going to eat away at your footprint as well. So essentially, I was only able to find 3 properties in the entire city of Wayne, 3 properties that with absolute certainty, mathematically speaking, you can open burn. And that property is that big old white house right there. Obviously the setback is well over 100 feet. We're pushing probably 150, 200 feet for that setback. So that's something to consider. And then of course, it's about 50 feet from my property line, his house. So theoretically behind his house, because that is the second biggest residential lot in the city of Wayne, just under 2 acres. I think it's 1.8 or 1.9. But theoretically, that big old house right there would qualify. And then the only other 2 lots I both own. This lot right here, from this pole roughly to that pole roughly 150 feet by 400 feet. of depth. So this lot, and then of course the lot that I live on. Right, but I own both of these lots. This is one giant lot. Two single lots conjoined together. So 300 feet wide by 500 feet of front, or 300 feet wide, and on average 400 to 500 feet deep, depending on which part. Because I'll show you on the survey here. I'll go inside and show you. But this is by far, without question, the biggest residential lot in the city of Wayne. So this 3-acre parcel, 2.79 acres, 2.8 acres, and this one, 1.8 or 1.9 acres. Those are the only two lots for sure that are beyond 50 feet from a structure. And we have 3 lots, 2 households, 7,055. So 7,055 households is what Wikipedia says the city of Wayne has. So out of over 7,000 households, there are 2 parcels in the entire city of Wayne that qualify for open. So why didn't the city just have a de facto? And the city just say, well, there's no open burning in the city of Wayne? Well, because they want to continue to do it. They want their friends and their family to continue to do it. And most importantly, they want to have an arbitrary and capricious void for vagueness doctrine that they can weaponize against me and my family. You know, make no mistake about it, that ordinance 2025-02 is 100%, 1,000% written to terrorize me and my family, which the city of Wayne has already done on 4 separate occasions, really beyond 4 separate occasions. They terrorized me every single day that they falsely arrested and incarcerated me. So really about 6 months of terrorism. So about 180 days worth of just city-sponsored domestic terrorism is what it is. And so that's one of the many reasons why we are never going to stop the good fight, no matter what. Because City of Wayne, City Council, Fire Chief, Fire Marshal, Police Chief, and some of the lieutenants as well, like Robert Amori, right? Evil people, man. Vindictive, malicious, selective, retaliatory people. And they are repugnant to the 4th Amendment and the 14th Amendment of this country. And they're also repugnant to the 1st Amendment, to the 5th Amendment, to the 6th Amendment, to the 8th Amendment. The void for vagueness doctrine, the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, because that's what they are. They are fruit of the poisonous tree, metaphorically speaking. But, you know, to put somebody in jail and deprive them of their civil liberties for nearly 6 months because of a law that does not even exist, right? Which, of course, you broke in, you illegally searched and seized property, so that would make it fruit of the poisonous tree anyways, right? It doesn't take a law scholar to understand this concept, right? If you obtain the evidence, right, illegally, then the evidence is inadmissible. It has to be thrown out. Which means that the entire encounter has to be thrown out because you didn't have probable cause, because there was no enacted or codified ordinance. And how do I know that? Well, why does ordinance 2025-02 exist? Why does this ordinance that we're discussing actually, this soon-to-be ordinance, we're going to be going down to City Council, of course, to be state for the record why it's not only void for vagueness, but it's repugnant to the Michigan and U.S. Constitution. And we need to make sure we state it for the record, because anything they say can and will be used against them in a court of law. And that means it's time for the rabbit to have the gun. It's time for the rabbit to have some of the fun. And it's not been fun, but it's necessary for a free republic It's very necessary. So a lot of things that the city of Wayne's going to have to explain. The city council and the government, city manager and city attorneys and city judge, right? There's going to be a lot of explaining to do how somebody can be sentenced beyond the maximum sentence and then be set in jail months. You got to double serve the sentence and then you got to go on probation. Can't give you a jury trial. We got to give you 2 jury trials in February, of course. And we got to keep you held in jail past the maximum sentence statutorily allowable, right? And we don't have to have an accurate ROA, and we don't have to give you your discovery and all of this and that, right? I mean, that's clear as day what transpired. And there's a reason why they're being so tight with the transcripts. They, want to charge thousands of dollars for all these transcripts, even though they can't do that. But this case is clearly in the interest of the public. But here's the survey of the property, right? And so, this property is, but like I said, by far the biggest residential property in all of the city of Wayne. Here's the Hunter Drain, Wayne County easement, not the city of Wayne easement. That's the easement with Wayne County. This is all state protected wetland back here. Most of this up here is too. Almost all of this over here. This is where the pond's going to be going, right here. And eventually we're going to have the mayor's mansion right here. This is the guest house that I'm in right now. And the mayor's mansion is going to be right there. Mayor's mansion, Veteran Zook Tillage Pond, roughly right here. Here's where all of this right here is state protected wetland. And so this is 300 feet of width, right? This is 300 feet. This property, I think, is 303 feet wide, to be exact. And then that's roughly the middle of them both. Roughly where that pole's at, that middle pole outside. And so this right here is 300, 400 feet. 300 by 400. But that honestly looks even bigger. Yeah, that's more. But yeah, this property, which is 300 feet by 300 to 400 to 500 feet, depending on where you're looking at, depending on which section you're looking at. No, 300 feet and 400 feet, my bad. So yeah, 300 feet and 400 feet. So this is 300 by 400 back here. And this is 300 by 300 right here. And there's nothing like it in the city of Wayne. It's, like I said, it's an anomaly. It's an anomaly on top of an anomaly. And kind of interesting when you think about it, that the city is that, I guess, mentally deficient, that they would think that 50 feet is like no big deal in Wayne, right? Like that alone, the 50 feet requirement from any structure or property line, well, that basically precludes 99% of Wayne off the rip. That means virtually no parcel in the city of Wayne, definitely none on the east side, and a handful on the west side. And then, of course, it just puts in there, well, we can still, do what we want, come on your property without a warrant to enforce this because, we're the fire department or something. I have to look at the exact language, how it's written. I have it all written down, but, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But thank you, City of Wayne, for, admitting on the record that you never had a codified open burn ordinance. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's but fuck you for for still committing void for vagueness violations, and for still being repugnant to the 4th and 14th Amendments, right? And yeah, the Fourth Amendment, in my opinion, is the most important amendment that exists in the United States Constitution and the Michigan State Constitution. Because if you don't have a right to the sanctity of your household or your property, well, then you don't have freedom, which means you don't have liberty, which means you don't have peace, which means what's the point of any of this, right? If we're just gonna lynch people, if we're just gonna tar and feather people because we don't like what they stand for or what they say or how they conduct themselves, and instead of arguing the facts and, you know, letting the best ideas win in the open marketplace, instead of that, well, we have to weaponize the legal process, the criminal justice system against you. Well, you're inclined to do what you guys want. Cucks are going to be cucks, but let me just say this, guys. Those transcripts are a doozy, and the facts don't lie. The fact of the matter is there never was a codified ordinance, and you guys had a choice. Once you apparently didn't know in the beginning, and let's just say you didn't know, which I don't believe that, but let's just say you didn't know. Let's play devil's advocate. It still doesn't excuse the warrantless search. And, you know, warrantless searches and seizures of property, of curtilage, is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And then to not afford someone proper procedural due process and to, you know, charge them for conducting themselves constitutionally and then charging them with obscene telecommunications because they dared to redress their grievances with the person who authored the open burn policy and who also sponsored the break-in of my property. You decided that you were gonna, you know, charge me for questioning that, for having some objections to that, right? And the whole thing stems from the fact that you broke into my house to enforce a law that doesn't exist. So, you know, the whole thing's fruit of the poisonous tree. The whole thing's void for vagueness. The whole thing's ultra varis. And it's void ab initio. Void from the very beginning. And then you over-sentenced me beyond the maximum sentence that was even humanly possible, which was 75 days. You kept me in there for over 90, and then you imposed probation. Otherwise, I was going to sit in jail for another 75 days until a jury trial, right? So I was going to serve double the maximum sentence, right? While I have to wear a heart monitor. This is because of the city of Wayne right here that I have to wear this heart monitor right here. Matter of fact, I'm gonna push it because I'm having heart palpitations just thinking about these fucking pieces of human garbage. That's what they are. So, heart monitor being pushed every time I have heart palpitations. You know, never had heart palpitations in my life. I'm 32 years old. Why do I have heart palpitations? Well, because the city of Wayne tried to kill me. They kidnapped me and they kept me in their dungeon and fed me slop and deprived me of all medical care and medication and, you know, my CPAP machine and, you know, just the list goes on and on and on. And so, you know, it's fighting for freedom is never easy, and it doesn't come without its sacrifices, but it is necessary. It is absolutely necessary. So I thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys will continue to support my work, and yeah, talk to you guys later.